The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Good crack of noon to our friends on the East Coast. I am Todd Obert, President and CEO of Productive, joined alongside me virtually and emotionally, Pete Greco, our VP of Sales and Technology. Thanks for showing up. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about today. We're going to contrast two approaches to cybersecurity, specifically malware. We're going to talk about Panda v. Sophos. Talk a little bit about their different approaches, and we'll show you Panda in depth, show you what that console looks like, and take a look at it. Same with Sophos. If you've been to our events in the past, you know that we encourage Q&A throughout. Use the hand raising feature, and we will in the chat, and we will basically answer your question in within the webinar, right? Timely. Don't have to wait until the end. But first of all, let's meet Productive in 1 minute. Well, who is Productive, you say? Well, thank you for chatting that and asking me, so I'll answer that question. Productive Corporation provides security solutions for mid-sized companies. We have specialized expertise that helps answer technical and licensing questions. We also implement, test, and optimize all the products that we sell. And whether you're doing AD security services, configuration assistance, UTM, implementation, we can help with all of that. We also produce a lot of third-party content. You're here watching our webinar. We do a lot of blogs. We produce tips and tricks videos. All of this you can find at productivecorp.com, solving security. The bottom line is we have a bunch of resources to help you with, whether that's on the implementation or assessment side, whether it's licensing or just optimizing what you have. It's help at productivecorp.com. You can call us as well, 612-375-0204. So like I said at the top, we are going to be talking about two approaches to solving the malware issue, solving cybersecurity. The guy who's going to tell you about that today is Mr. Pete Greco. Now, Pete has been with us for the whole run. He's been doing cybersecurity for 20 years, and really, he's worked with thousands of customers, helping them to maintain and improve their overall security posture. He's very familiar with Panda and Sophos, and so I'm pretty excited to hear what he has to say today, and I hope you are as well. So let's give a warm virtual round of applause for Mr. Pete Greco. Pete?
All right. Thanks so much, and thanks everybody for taking the time out to join us today. We really appreciate it. So I'm going to try and really do my best to keep this down to the 30-minute mark here. And if we pique your interest on either or both of these products or any of the other fine things on our line card, please let us know, and we'd be happy to do a more in-depth custom one-on-one or one-on-two or one-on-three meeting for you, so that you can really see some of the additional features that are available, and we can even do a deeper dive on the comparison. So let's get right into this party. So a lot of similarities. Yeah,
I just add, and talk about it specific to your environment. And if you want that, just chat. Yes. Just put something in the chat and say, hey, let's talk about doing an offline demo for our organization, and then we'll have somebody from our accounts team contact you and set it up.
Absolutely. And Todd, that's a great point. A lot of times we start a conversation going in a specific direction, maybe based on a client request. But as we start learning about the environment, a lot of times we might find an alternative solution or an alternative way of doing things that really is a much better fit. And so the opportunity to learn about your specific needs and requirements and what your business is and that kind of stuff, which isn't an all-day thing, it's a 5 or a 10-minute thing, can really help us nail down kind of the right stuff for you to be looking at. So that's a great point, actually. So what's the same? You know, there's a lot of similarities. I think when you talk to the vendors themselves, you know, they want to really play it up that you know, they're totally different from everybody else on the planet, and everybody has their own secret sauce and neat features and are addressing things in their own way. But there's a lot of commonalities that you're going to get when you're looking at top tier products, and that's the bulk of what you're going to see on our line card, and definitely what we're showing you today. You know, reporting and alerting obviously is a big one. Virus signatures. You know, a lot of folks in the security business say that you don't need signatures anymore, and that's not false. But identifying something and stopping it based on the known is still the most absolute fastest way to block a threat. And so you're going to see signature detection in all the leading products, right? And that's because of speed and really reducing system resource requirement for stuff that's already known. And here you're going to see very high detection rates in both organizations, looking at, if you can believe this, over 400,000 unique threat samples each day. Now, some of those threats are the same thing that they saw yesterday, and they're seeing it again today, but some of them are new and variants and this kind of stuff. But 400,000 unique samples a day, and really looking at that stuff, trying to figure out, you know, what are the attackers trying to do? What are they trying to do next? How are these things evolving so that they can continue to improve their you know, their protections and really get a step ahead of the bad guys. Cloud managed. This has become huge. We've been offering cloud managed endpoint security products probably, I think, since 2014, and in really 2016 is when we saw the big hockey stick growth, and this is now really 99% of our endpoint security revenue is cloud managed. There's still some folks out there that are doing on-prem, and some of them for great reason, and some of them just, you know, don't want to move, but most folks are moving to this. You'll see that in both of these solutions. Device control, web content filter, right? A lot of nifty charts and graphs, and being able to do some customization there to see kind of the stuff that you want to see. Didn't put this on my slide deck. The ability to plug into your SIM. So if you're running an event tracker or logarithm, or you're using a managed SOC or whatever, data from your console can go into that alerts collection mechanism that you're already using, and pretty easy to get that set up, and pretty versatile, you know, especially if you're using one of the ones that I haven't named, which there are, you know, many. And of course, the big thing that really is taking security to the next level, machine learning and AI, right? And really the big thing there is the machine learning is really trying to understand what's going on in your environment so that it can have a better opportunity to reduce false positives, because it understands this is normal for this organization, right? And then also identify abnormalities that are getting introduced into the organization. And that's where AI then kind of picks up and figures out, hey, this isn't normal. Does that mean it's bad? We introduced a new software. That's not necessarily malicious, but it could be, and we need to understand the differences between those. So that's just a few things of what's similar. Let's talk about some of the differences. And one of the things that makes Panda unique, on not just on our line card, but really in the market, is they're taking a whitelist only approach. They call it the 100% attestation model. And what they're doing there, and I'm going to show you kind of what this looks like a little bit, is they only allow the known good to run. So they're not looking at file samples and saying, hey, do I think this is likely to be good, or do I think it's likely to be bad, and trying to make a decision based on collecting a lot of information. When you put it into lock mode, it's saying, is this known good? And if it's not, we're not going to allow it to run. Now, that sounds great. There's still some additional things that they got to do to make sure that something that is good hasn't been compromised. So still have to have the machine learning and the artificial intelligence and a lot of the additional routines that are running to figure out what's good or bad. But the first cut is, if it's not known good, we're not going to allow it to run, and that blocks a lot of stuff. And the cool thing there then is that decision is made, you know, basically instantaneously on I think it's 8% of the things that you're going to see. The additional stuff that's not covered then is going to be human reviewed. And while that's happening, guaranteed to get a response in under 24 hours, while that's happening, the administrator can say, I know this is good because I wrote it myself, so I'm going to allow this to run. Or, you know, we vetted this company, we're pretty sure this is good, I'm going to allow it to run until Panda comes back and says, in fact, this is bad, then it's going to get blocked. You have the final say, so even if they come back and say, we know for sure this is bad, you can still allow it to run if you want to. It wouldn't be wise, but you have the final control over that. But if you put that in automated mode, very little for you to do. Also include some additional things, excuse me, like patching can be added on, which you can do right from the console, and you can do it over the cloud. So if you got a lot of folks at home, you're going to be able to patch those machines while they're at home or on the road or wherever they might be. Can also do some systems management, and this is with a tool that they call Fusion. That's kind of like a cloud-based RMM tool that's going to allow you to do system settings and fix-its and remote into machines and all kinds of cool stuff there. You can use the Fusion tool without being an endpoint security customer. It's its own thing. And so another great offering, and some of the clients that I've talked to have it really dig it, especially during COVID. And then BitLocker and Max File Vault for key management. Now, let me give you a couple of things to digest here. There we go. So this is the Panda dashboard. When you first log in, this is what you're seeing. You can see I'm doing the right stuff. I've got 4 machines and I'm all green, which is what you would expect when you see an environment in Productive Corp's network, right? Mostly test machines in here. We do get some color from time to time. And when I do, I can click on these reports and start drilling into more information. When I'm first getting started, or if I've introduced new software into the mix, this little bar right here is going to show me how much of the software in my environment has been classified and what it's been classified as. And once I've been running for a little while, and when I say a little while, I mean a couple of weeks or more, then I'm going to see that all of my programs have been classified, and hopefully they've been classified as all good, right? Next up, as you drill into the settings, I mentioned that lock mode. Now, when you're first getting started with Panda, you want to start it off in audit or hardening mode. And basically what's happening there is when you have it in audit mode, then it's running like a traditional antivirus solution. It's looking at stuff. It's still using its AI and behavioral monitoring and this kind of stuff to detect stuff that it doesn't have a signature for. But while this is happening, it's learning your machines and it's sharing the information on your machines with the central brain so that it can really understand what's good for you and what's not good for you. And depending on the organization, it could be within a few days and it could be within a few weeks. We're going to recommend that you move from audit to hardening to lock. And some organizations might start off right off as hardening. If you've got a small environment and you've done the trial, you might deploy right into lock mode. And that's something we can help you figure out across the board. A whole bunch of different settings. You can do exclusions and all the stuff that you would be expecting that you can do in this console. One of the cool things that I really dig about Panda and that I hear customers oohing and ahhing on a lot is this filter capability, which allows you to see your machines and information about your machines in a lot of different ways. And a bunch of these are the default filters that are in there, but I can basically click on any of these and as you can guess, find all the machines that have Firefox or Chrome or whatever, and I can do multiple. So if I want to see machines that have, Reader, Firefox, and some other application that I'm running to make sure that I'm fully deployed or that I have the sales bundle pushed out or whatever it might be, I can build those any way that I like. so that I can really drill in quickly and figure out, hey, I've got an issue and it's only impacting virtual machines. Here's a look at all my virtual machines, and now I can start drilling into these. You can create all of your own filters. So here I just created a little group to help me find any devices that I have that are workstation grade OSs that are not encrypted. Maybe I want to get control over those and get BitLocker enabled or whatever, or just figure out, do these leave or do they stay? Whatever I want it to be. A ton of things that you can do with that, which is pretty handy. Mention the patch management add-on. So I just have from my dashboard an additional little area here where I can drill in, and now I can start getting information on my patch environment. And if I drill in, I can see both my Windows patches as well as my third-party patches. You can see here I've got a Firefox patch to push out, which I can do right from the console. I can schedule it to run later. I can force a reboot. I can do a whole bunch of stuff. So it's really a slick little add-on there. So let's hop over to Sophos, right? And so the Sophos approach is really to still do all of the AI and behavioral monitoring and all of this good stuff. But in addition to looking at file samples and doing the analysis and trying to figure out if it's good or bad, they're also just blocking hacking techniques. So there's techniques that hackers are using, like trying to launch PowerShell from a browser to run some kind of a script. Well, we figured out that when that happens, that probably the next bad thing is going to happen. So we don't need to try and learn how can you scan a PowerShell script. We just need to know, don't let that occur, and then it's going to be unlikely that a PowerShell attack can get run. They also have some unique tools called CryptoGuard, specifically for not just detecting the ransomware itself, that's important, but the precursor to what happens before ransomware runs. Let's stop it before the ransomware comes, right? That's even better than catching that files are starting to get encrypted and then rolling that back, which they can do, but let's stop it before it gets to that point. Let's don't let a file get encrypted, right? And then some cool stuff from the EDR standpoint, the ability to threat hunt. So you see a file that gets detected on a specific machine, you can figure out what the SHA-256 is, what the information related to that file is, Sophos analysis on it, and then you can go and search for that file across your network and make sure you're blocking it prior to it detonating or launching on other machines. And a lot of folks, bring up the question, well, if it ran on this machine, why isn't it running everywhere? The action might not have happened yet to cause that to happen. Might be time delayed. You might be catching it right off the bat. There's tons of ways where you can actually find these files lying in wait, waiting to go off, and they might be waiting for the hacker to trigger something to launch the rest of those. So you might find it on the hacker's test machine and then go out and find it on other machines where it's been seeded. So really a valuable tool. And then Sophos has their unique Synchronized Security, which connects all of their products together to be able to communicate intelligently. So if you have an XG firewall and you've got the mail security product, you can tie those in so that if the endpoint is maybe trying to communicate with a known bad site, the firewall detects it, the firewall can go back to the endpoint and say, find the application that's generating this traffic, it's about to be bad. Nothing bad has happened yet, but it's going to be. Let's stop it here and we're going to block it at the firewall. And then you can do some stuff like isolate the machines, isolate the user, and auto allow that stuff back onto the network once it's deemed clean, or admin has to review. Lots of neat things that you can do, right? The central mail security, cloud sandbox, all kinds of cool features for preventing users from seeing bad stuff, right? And then preventing them, if anything does make it through to their inbox, going directly to a bad site and making something happen. And again, that ties in with the endpoint security and can even do some neat stuff like alert you to, here's some users who like to click on stuff. We've stopped it all, but maybe they should get trained in getting some information on that, which is pretty slick. So let's take a look at that. There we go. So here's the main dashboard, and you can see I've got quite a few things in my console. Depending on what you purchase, your dashboard may look a little bit different. And Panda, kind of the same. If you don't have the patch, you're not going to see that in your management console. And so depending on what I have here, I may see more or less of these things. Here you can see my mail security, my endpoints, so on and so forth, right? I talked about those kind of specific hacking protections. This is what they look like in the endpoint policy. They're fairly similar on the server side. And you can see what we're doing: protecting web browsers, protecting Java and Office applications, preventing DLLs from loading, code caving, process hollowing attacks, all this stuff. There might not be a file to scan. This is a lot of what's commonly referred to as fileless malware. So there might not be a file to scan, but there's still something bad that's happening. We want to detect the techniques as much as we want to detect the files. And then we also have that crypto guard for stopping ransomware before it gets going, right? And then you've got this nifty threat analysis dashboard. This is where I can start drilling into threats and finding out suspicious items even, and finding out more about what's going on, what it's trying to do, get up-to-date information from Sophos. When I get that file information or that SHA-256, I can hunt for it and find it on all my machines. Then I can clean and block it. And there's some safeguards in there. So if you're trying to clean and block maybe a known good Windows DLL, it's not going to let you do that. So you can't disable inadvertently or intentionally systems on your network by killing good files. So there are some safeguards in there to make that a little bit less prone to mistake, right? So we like that. You get this neat chart to see what threats actually do. And you can see something similar to this in Panda, but when you have it running in lock mode, there's not going to be anything to see because nothing is allowed to run. So I didn't have a great chart to show you because we have all of those systems in lock mode. But here we can see where something originated from and then what the actual file was. And I've got a little graph up here where I can change this. So instead of seeing everything that was happening on the machine, which is nice to see because this is showing me right here that it didn't touch anything else, I can drill in when I have a real busy machine and see just the stuff that I wanted to look at. So now I can see this is where it originated from, and this was the actual threat file itself. But if I come back here, I can see the threat file didn't touch anything else. It didn't touch any registry keys or any open files. So I know if this got cleaned, I don't have any further research to do. But if I had a bunch of files and registry keys and maybe websites hanging off of this thing, I might want to do a deeper dive to figure out what was going on and if I got negatively impacted. It doesn't guarantee that I had a problem or lost data, but it is an indicator that I should do a little bit of a deeper dive. And if I want to do that, then I can use some of the tools in Live Discover to go out and query my machines. I can look for stuff, and you can also use this to just get information on your network that might not be related to a threat at all. And this is based on running basically SQL queries across the devices that you choose. So it could be your whole environment or just the 3 people that were having a problem or one specific C-level guy's machine or whatever it is you're trying to get information on. And you can write your own SQL queries or find SQL queries on the Sophos community that you can import and run to garner additional information. And then just one of the cool things that I really dig here on the synchronized security capability, here we are in the mail system, and we're using this in our actual environment. So you can see I've got some of my users listed here. Here's a risk index, and then from here I can go straight into the Sophos phishing training and train these end users. So they're getting a lot of stuff coming at them. Doesn't mean that my employee is trying to bring me down, right? But he might be getting fooled, and I got fooled yesterday. I was sharing with Todd. I saw a great little thing that I tried to log into with my Office account. Now I recognized immediately that it was bad. I changed my password. We have 2-factor rolling, so even with my password, it would be difficult to attack me. But even the pros can get confused, right? So now I can see who's having a problem, and I can make sure I get them some additional training to keep them keep them rolling. So that's a lot of stuff. Did I make it in time? God, I'm 5 minutes under.
You fantastic. So one question as we're kind of wrapping here. I mean, two contrasting approaches. I mean, if you're an end user, you're counseling an end user, what makes them decide Panda or Sophos or another solution? I mean, is there stuff that's based upon their environment, or is it personal preference? Or maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Todd. So a lot of it does come back to their environment, what's right for them. It's also a little bit, what's their profile? Are you a dedicated security guy? This is all you do all day is chase down threats and do analysis and look at logs and this kind of stuff. You know, if that's the case, some of those granular tools in the EDR, those guys really love. Right? Are you in charge of Exchange and converting to Office 365 and trying to figure out why the CEO can't open that Word document? Those guys like kind of the hands-off approach that you can get with Panda by getting it into the lock mode. And the reality is a lot of our folks are somewhere in between. And we're kind of trying to find some of that stuff out to help guide them down this path. But also, what's your business? What compliance requirements do you have, if any? That can weigh into that approach. What's your management style? And some of it does simply come down to emotion. They see this thing or they see that thing and they really dig it. They fall in love with a couple of the features, and that helps drive the thing. And part of what our job to do is sometimes that happens, but it's not going to be the right solution in the long run. And we got to counsel with you and help you understand, hey, this is where this meets your needs. This is where this maybe doesn't meet your needs, even though you like this one or two features. But it really is, I like to say it's about 40% emotion. The vendors hate that. They want to believe that it's all science. There's a lot of science that gets mixed into this, but part of it is what can you figure out how to use? What makes sense to you? What's going to be easy for you to get integrated into your process and really be able to run? And you know, what's your kind of user profile look like? And that stuff weighs in. And kind of my old saying is, you know, you can buy really the best solution that there ever was, and if you don't get it implemented, you know, it's not going to stop anything. You take a lesser solution and get it really rolling to the fullest extent, and it's going to do a better job for you. Now, the reality for us is we want to help you get a great solution, and we want to make sure that you're able to use it so that you really are getting the best of both worlds. But emotion does come into that aspect. But you know, we're really trying to start by figuring out what are your needs and what do you need to do and what's your profile look like, and then giving you some guidance on what you should be looking at.
Yeah. And the other thing I'd say is working with a partner that understands the solutions that they're selling. I mean, that also helps you to make sure you're getting your best value out of the solution you go with. Because if that partner really understands it, they can fast track you on how to get it implemented correctly. They can, you know, give you guidance if something's not working, is it a problem, redirecting you to support or helping you get support, or, you know, hey, this is how we do it in this framework, because some of the products do it. Their logic system is different than maybe yours or my logic system on why they put policies here or why they have this report buried here. But that's just the knowledge. Yeah, well, that's great. Well, Pete, thank you very much. That was a fantastic presentation.